She was the queen of 1969's Woodstock Music Festival. After mounting a singing career while still in college, Melanie later sang in clubs in Greenwich Village and was signed to a publishing contract in 1967. She recorded her first single, Beautiful People, that same year. In 1969, Melanie met producer Peter Scheitkirk, who later became her husband. He took charge of her career and helped her release her first album. Melanie picks up the story from here.
It was pretty incredible. Peter was working with Buddha Records, and he was from Eastern Europe. He was Ukrainian. And he thought that I had a European sound. And so he wanted to promote me in Europe. So like in 68, I went to France, and Gilbert Bécaud, who was considered, I guess, like the Frank Sinatra or something of Europe, and he heard me and wanted to present me to the French public, and I did 40 days and 40 nights at the Olympia Theater in Paris, which was a major deal. And I had a hit record in France called Person. And I think that is the phenomenon of me at Woodstock, is that I went on stage an unknown and emerged a celebrity.
3 years after that, of course, you had that massive hit, Lay Down.
Yes, and that was actually begun at Woodstock. I had that chorus in my head, and I mean, the images of what I had seen and what I had out candles to keep the rain away. I was just in my little tent in terror. I was kind of thinking maybe everybody would go home because it was raining, you know. What kind of sensible people, won't they go home? Of course, that didn't happen. And I was kind of semi-hoping it, because the last thing I wanted to do, especially after waiting in that tent all day, and everyone, once in a while, someone would say, "You're on next." And then, of course, it didn't happen. And then when it started to rain, I thought, thank you, God, you've answered my prayers. I would be saved.
You were terrified.
I was terrified, absolutely terrified. I wasn't a seasoned performer. You know, I was just a buzz in Europe, to a place where I can listen to that song and thoroughly enjoy it.
It took a while, did it?
Yeah, because I did. I became a reactionary to that song. It bothered me, you know, that's all anybody knew. And even though I had laid down before that, and look what they'd done to my song, Ma, it and Beautiful People, it impacted so many people across the world. It just bothered me. I was too young, I think. I didn't quite understand.
Which song would have you preferred to be known for?
I can't really say. I think Brand New Key is perfect. And what I love about it is that it does defy genres. It really is. It could be a blues song. You know, we just happened to produce it. My husband was a pop music person, and he produced it as a pop record. But If you really look at the song itself, it is a blues song done as a pop song.
In 1970, Melanie had another huge hit, this time with What Have They Done to My Song, Ma? In it, she's talking to her mother. She's complaining about how the music industry perverts her music and says that by the time her songs hit the market, they've turned out all wrong.
That was the first time I felt I'm a writer. Before that, I was just a person singing and I wrote songs for myself. But when Ray Charles did it, even though Look What They've Done to My Song Ma had been a hit by, I think, the New Seekers, and a lot of people recorded that song. But it wasn't until Ray Charles did it that I thought, I wrote a song for Ray Charles. That was the moment. That was what wow.
What were you writing about in that song?
Well, it's a pretty weird little story. I was a vegetarian, and I wasn't doing well as a vegetarian. I kept getting sick and felt horrible, and I went to a nutritional kind of guru, and his name was Dr. Bernard Jensen, and he was very much into iridology and cleansing. And so I was at his ranch because I was kept getting sick, and I wanted to know, what am I supposed to be eating so that I don't keep getting sick. So um, he put me on a fast, which on nothing but water. And it was supposed to just be like a 10-day fast, but at the end of 10 days, I thought, I really want to keep doing this. And I kept wanting to do it. I think it was a 27-day fast on nothing but water. And Dr. Jensen actually had to say, I think it's time, Melanie, that you stop fasting and, begin, introducing food. And you'll know your perfect diet because you're so cleansed and, in touch with who you are as body as well as the spirit. And so I broke the fast very gradually on a tablespoon of some kind of juice and a little bit of partially cooked grated carrot or whatever. And then I left Bernard Jensen's ranch with the feeling that I would probably continue being a vegetarian. So I loved going to flea markets, early morning flea markets. This was when only dealers went to these flea markets at 4 and 5 in the morning. And I went with my flashlight and had my big bag of stuff. And I was on my way back, and we passed a McDonald's, and I smelled something, and I thought, that, Dr. Jensen said I would know what my perfect diet is. And well, let me just see what they have in there. So I went in, I got the whole works, the fries, the milkshake, the burger. And I mean, this is after 27 days of not eating. You'd think I would have died, my digestive system would have rejected it, but
Were you sick?
I never felt better. I finished that last bite of burger, and the song was in my head. I swear, I had a travel guitar with me. It was high strung, so it made this little twinkling sound, and I wrote the song. I think it had a lot to do with the senses, maybe the scent of the grease or something from my childhood. Growing up in New York, there was something just awakened a creative channel for me, and I did the whole song. I had that song in 20 minutes. I was really literally thinking about, look what they've done to my song, because I would go in the studio, and there I would be with all the musicians who read music, and Peter would communicate, my husband would communicate with the musicians. And even though we were married, we disagreed a lot in the studio, but he would always get his way. And that's why Brand New Key is a hit, because if I had produced the record, it probably would have come out more like a blues song. The song wasn't coming out how I heard it in my head. And he'd always, want to have a hook and, something. And I sort of fought against that, tried to find the more authentic version of what I was trying to say. But of course, I look back now and I think I was fighting my own success, really, because he made it possible for me to communicate to millions of people.
Emmy award-winning Melanie Safka there, who's had 20 chart-topping hits to date.